Are you recording? Yes, I see that now. Thank you for recording. So I'll go ahead and call us to order. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mariah Gendy. I work in the Department of Sustainability as the Food and Climate Resilience Manager. I am supporting this meeting today while Shailene, who is your liaison is out on leave, and we are also lacking a chair. So with that noted, I think we can go ahead and do roll call. Can the members of this committee please one by one just unmute yourself and say your name and membership for the record?
Kira Williams, Northeast Ward.
Christy Robinson.
I'm Carter Berry.
Leah
Mason
Lavin.
Stevens.
Sorry.
The 11, Mason, go ahead. Okay, Mason Stevens.
I'm not part of the committee, but I'm George Stone. I'm from North Carolina A&T with my colleague.
Thank you, guys. Welcome, George and Billy. How do I say your name?
You can call me Solomon. Solomon.
Solomon.
Philippine.
Okay,
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you guys
That's
for joining
easier.
us.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, Shireen. Is it Carrie? And Laura. I see that we have a few different guests in the group today. All right, so I think that brings us to our first item of business now that we've done roll call. We'll do the election of officers. Since we have quorum today, you guys have not had a chair. And so I think that the first order of business is trying to elect a chair.
I would love to nominate Carter.
I second.
What has happened?
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Awesome. So is everyone in favor?
Aye.
In favor.
Okay, great. Welcome Carter as our chair. Exciting times.
Great.
We're thrilled.
Thank
I
you,
think
Carter.
that's a huge obstacle overcome in just a few minutes. You guys are already building so much momentum. So our next order of business is the approval of meeting minutes for April of 2023 and November of 2023. Have Shailene shared those items with you guys in advance? Do you have the opportunity to review?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any amendments or changes anyone wants to propose? Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. Great. I believe that the minutes have passed, so thank you all. So with that said, that is some of our housekeeping items out of the way. I think I can go ahead and introduce the following item. We have our presenters with us today from NCA&T, Solomon and George Stone. Thank you both for being here. I believe you guys are providing a presentation about the Climate Lab, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you take it over from here.
So I think I'll get started. Thank you for inviting us. And what I'm going to do is share some information about the center and what the goals of the center are, and some of the progress that we have made since the center started, especially in Greensboro. And basically what we'd like to also know how Winston-Salem and the surrounding cities are going to get involved and benefit from these collaborations. I'm kind of tired. I've been on Zoom since 9:30 today. I was on National Science Foundation panel reviewing proposals, so I'm completely worn out, but I still have some more energy to move on. So I'm going to, can you let me share my screen?
Are you unable to share it right now?
Let me check. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So this is the DOE, Department of Energy funded Climate Resiliency Center. We just put up our new webpage, and I will show you what the webpage looks like. This is a Climate Resilience Center in Montreal, North Carolina. We just installed a air quality sensor on campus, which you can always get information in real time. So it measures the PM concentration on our campus, and it's displayed on the Purple Air monitor on the web. And so our goal is to install a number of those in especially low-income neighborhoods where air pollution could be felt most. And we recently had some resources here, traffic pollution and health today, state of global air pollution and your health. These are very important documents, and we'll start putting some more documents in here for people to look at. And this was the first town hall meeting that Dr. Stone and Dr. Donstad held in Greensboro. This is more of a focus group meeting. And these are the members: myself, Dr. Adama Mokonnen is a climatologist, Dr. George Stone, marketing professor, and Dr. Mark Fiedler, an atmospheric chemist, of course, our collaborator, Dr. Shri, and Dr. Minash and Samson are at Pacific Northeast National Laboratory, which is a DOE laboratory, and we have some of our students. So it's a new web page that's still under construction. So
Am I the only one who could just see with the one slide?
Yeah, can you advance? That's what I was about to say. We can't see the slides advancing.
Yeah. No, I just showed the web page right now. So I'm going to the, yeah.
Okay.
So the center members are listed here, myself and Stone and all the members of the PNNL and so on. So that's just to give you who we are. And so we have 3 goals in the center. The first one is conduct research. So we're trying to examine the atmospheric physical process that link climate change, urban heat, and air quality. And so that's one of the research topics that we're dealing with, and I'll explain this in more detail. The main part of this project is really community engagement. So projects for assessing the impacts on vulnerable communities, engaging local communities in defining matrices for impact and resilience. So we aim to develop and evaluate tools for predicting extreme events and for examining impacts of adaptation and strategy. So we'll talk about, one of the things we're considering is what are the greening projects that could help mitigate climate change in cities, and what are the adverse effects of biogenic emissions, because if you just plant trees without any consideration on what they emit, then you can also facilitate the formation of ground level ozone. And so those are the kinds of things we try to evaluate in terms of urban greening. And then we talk about education and training. So the goal is to train the next generation of scientists and increase diversity in the field. So George Stone is going to give more information on number 2. I'm going to focus on number 1. So the project addresses 2 issues. What are the role of biogenic emissions on urban pollution and urban heat? So when I say biogenic emissions, all the plants you see in Greensboro or North Carolina or anywhere for that matter emit what are called biogenic volatile organic compounds. And these are different from what we call anthropogenic volatile organic compounds that come from industrial emissions and oil and gas, fossil fuel, or biomass burning. Those are anthropogenic volatile organic compounds. And so the mixture of VOCs and those VOCs could interact with the NOx, that's the nitrogen oxide that's emitted from fossil fuel to increase the ground level ozone, and ground level ozone is a pollutant and it's a health hazard. It not only impacts human beings, but also impacts plant growth. It interferes with, for example, with pollination of plants, because those ozone pollutants can actually alter the chemistry of emissions from flowers that the bees would sense to do pollination and interfere with that. So those are the science questions we're going to address. So basically, we're trying to use models to understand secondary organic aerosol formation using a known WRF-Chem model, that's chemistry and weather forecasting model. It's a mixture of the two that incorporates chemistry and aerosols in the model. And also we'd like to investigate the interaction of urban heat islands and secondary organic formation. So when I say urban heat islands, it's a phenomenon that's being developed in major cities in the US, where urban areas are predominantly or significantly hotter than the surrounding areas. It's partly because of the power usage, pollution, and all those can increase the heat within urban areas, and that significantly impacts people with low income because of the way the homes are constructed. They cannot tolerate the heat. So urban heat island is a major problem that's part of growth in major cities. Cities like Phoenix, Arizona, Atlanta, Georgia, actually they're trying to mitigate that by creating coatings on, for example, on pavements that would reflect rather than absorb heat, or window and construction materials that would reflect heat instead of absorbing heat. So there is a process that is going on in different industries on that. So what are those emissions? We have vehicle traffic, buildings have their own emissions, power plants, urban green spaces, farms and forests. All those emit, as I mentioned, anthropogenic and biogenic volatile organic compounds. These are very short-lived mixtures that interact with NOx, sulfur dioxide, to form secondary organic aerosols, brown carbon and ozone. And all this contribute to urban pollution islands and urban heat islands. So we have satellite information to validate the ground-based measurements. And so we're going to develop a network of sensors and also work with EPA to use their sensor network to understand the relationship between those emissions and health. I just saw an article just yesterday that came out, that actually two articles. One was in Nature that shows suicide rate increase with pollution. So it actually impacts neurological aspects of humans. So there is a big study in China with the cleaning of the air, the suicide rate decreased. And then a recent article, actually, infertility now is also linked to air pollution because it impacts sperm cells and their motility. And so that's a new finding. So there are so many non-communicable diseases that are associated with air pollution. And this is something that we all share because we all breathe the same atmosphere. The only difference is people closer to the source may be more impacted, but nobody is free from those pollutions, no matter where you live. So the experimental setup is what we do at North Carolina, and it is examine the chemical processes. We try to produce seed aerosol similar to what's in vehicle exhaust or either kerosene burner or gasoline within a tube, and then introduce seed aerosol to the smoke chamber that you see on the picture that's in our lab, and generate nitrogen oxide, trioxide in the absence of ozone, and then introduce oxygenated anthropogenic volatile organic compounds and examine the evolution of the nighttime yield of this and their optical properties. So that's the experimental aspect of the project that we're envisioning, and this is the NT Air Quality Research Lab, where there are several PhD students working, and we try to understand emissions mainly from biomass burning, but now we're also going to be interested in fossil fuel emissions and so on. The community aspect, which George is going to explain in more detail, provide training opportunities to different communities including veterans, develop urban citizen science opportunities to measure and monitor local thermal and air quality. So our goal is to enable people to have those sensors, use them, develop and measure them and install them in their neighborhoods. So we try to introduce what's called citizen science approach, where the community will be part of the data collection team. And then, of course, we have graduate and undergraduate students who will be working in our lab and working with the PNNL lab to learn more on the modeling aspect. We'll plan a center seminar series that will exploit the unique competencies of each our partners, research exchange of graduate students with PNNL. We plan to send 2 of our students this summer, and joint advising of graduate students in collaboration with DOE scientists. And so that's one of the educational goals of the center. This is mostly how we conduct education. This is more of a detail that I will skip. So this is my research group. This was a year ago, and you have seen it on the webpage of the center, I guess. So the funding, of course, National Science Foundation, DOE, and Swiss National Foundation is also the funding agency for this. Not just for the Climate Resiliency Center, but for all the things we do on campus related to air quality and atmospheric chemistry. I think that's all I have, and I'm ready to take questions.
The work you're doing is much higher level than my level of education, but I'm very, very grateful that you and your team are doing it, and it's very important work, and I'm just beholden to you for the work, and we're grateful to engage in any way we can on our end. So we look forward to hearing from
Yeah, we
Stone.
want to bring this down to earth so that it becomes everyone's property, in a sense that everybody can, in a way that everybody can understand and see what the impacts of polluted air is on the health of individuals, because everybody is impacted by it. So it's just a matter of trying to get the science down to clear for people to understand the connections between the different scientific advances and what it means to human health. So the
Definitely.
webpage is going to put lots of material resources as we move on that the community can download and read. So these are made for the public, so they don't require a BS or a PhD to understand.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
was there a solutions slide as well for like mitigation of air quality?
Well, we don't. I mean, the solution is something that we collectively look for. I mean, these are a combination of education, regulation, and people taking responsibility for what they burn and emit. So it's really no single. Everyone has to take responsibility in what they contribute to the atmosphere, because we all share the same atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So the solution is us, really. The
Are
community.
there, so I know that you were measuring, I saw in one of the slides that you're measuring how green space mitigates air pollution impacts.
Yeah.
Do you guys have studies that we might be able to rely on to like
Yeah, there are
to
some
encourage it?
papers. We don't have one, but there are studies that were done in Berlin, for example, where they looked at some emissions from plants that actually contributed to increased ozone on the ground level, which is a pollutant. So,
Okay.
so there are thousands and thousands of plant species. So what you plant and what you choose to plant matters, because different plants have different emissions.
Right. Okay.
So can I ask, so you're really looking at like air biochemistry or air chemistry interactions and what
Yeah.
air quality effects stem from that based on emissions from plants.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to understand from our committee's perspective, it sounded like maybe there's like an ask of us or a way that we can facilitate the work. So the first level is, it sounded like there was a lot of experimental work in that chamber you showed,
Yeah.
but then also like the deployment of a bunch of maybe just purple air, maybe something more than purple air sensors. Is
Yeah.
is the intention that you would deploy a bunch of these in strategic places in Winston as well as Greensboro or other communities for that matter, and that we would play some role in that,
Yeah,
or
I think
what's
that's
the lead?
exactly, yeah, that's exactly the goal. And we George is going to organize
Okay.
focus group meetings to discuss what are the concerns in the communities impacted by air pollution or urban heat or climate. And so get the feedback from the community and then work with the community on how to address some of the concerns. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I know that I'm not a air chemist. I'm not a chemist at all. Let me just back up and say as well.
But you're the committee chair now or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I am a biologist though, who studies plants and thinks about the
Yeah.
emissions or the things that are exchanged with the atmosphere. But you know, this contribution to ozone is a framing that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm interested to hear from you all, like the implications of if you found that like every species we commonly put in urban heat islands reduces temperatures but simultaneously increases ozone or air reduces air quality, I guess, by extension in those places. Like, can you sort of speak a little bit more to that
So I guess
trade-off?
it's not all plants are the same. That's I think the message. So what you plant and understanding what they emit is important because each emission, like for example, most common plant emission is isoprene. Every plant probably emits isoprene, but there are certain species of plants that emit more different types of volatile organic compounds that are more reactive towards NOxes and sulfur dioxide, leading to the adverse chemistry. So the point is, you don't want to increase the ozone layer in the ground level ozone. You want it up there, but you don't want it on the ground. And so you want to minimize that. So the VOCs, they come in different forms. They either come from your car, and even in homes, the cleaning agents that we use produce some kind of volatile organic compounds. And so how do they interact with anything that's reactive in the atmosphere?
And so is the implication that in the chamber, you're going to experimentally test a bunch of species so that the output from like a community sustainability committee is a recommendation of like what types of species we should promote from the perspective of the measurements from this project?
Yeah, actually the chamber does mostly, we put those, we burn wood species, different types of wood species in a small oven. And we send the smoke into the chamber, and we have a UV light that's turned on and off that initiates photochemistry. And then we have done experiments where we exposed in vitro lung cells, human lung cells, to the smoke particles and looked at the DNA damage that takes place because of those emissions. We have characterized over 182 different chemical species emitted from burning wood, for example. So what you burn in the house for heating purposes has lots of unknown chemical species that might adversely affect your health. So we're trying to uncover the chemistry. So actually what the NSF funded, the lab is mostly focused on looking at African emissions because the projections are over the next 75 years, over 13 of the 20 mega cities are going to be in Africa. Population explosion is happening there. The cities are growing so fast. and about 1.1 million people die prematurely because of air pollution. So it's a very growing menace in the continent. So we're trying to understand what are being emitted. So we collect filter samples from African major cities, and we bring wood samples from the region and look at the ambient and the lab generated particles and what they're made of. So that was why the chamber was created. But now we're trying to use it for local understanding and see how biogenic emissions interact with kerosene, for example, emissions or other fossil fuel emissions.
And is that one of the reasons we're looking at the economy, low income, where those individuals may not be able to have the maintenance done, may burn kerosene, just some of the maintenance that can be done to a home, upgrades and systems and so forth, that can have an impact on the entire community?
Yeah, so there are two levels of things to look at. In terms of urban heat, it's the construction material people use, the way the buildings are constructed, the construction material, whether it's heat conserving or that matters. But in terms of pollution, the neighborhoods, so if you are living by an industrial plant, if you are living by a trash dump, for example, if you are living by a waste dump where there is smoldering fire going on, these are all potent emission sources that people in low-income neighborhoods are exposed to because they are closer to the source. As you are further from the source, there's dispersion. So the particles disperse, the pollutants disperse, and so the effect it will have on neighborhoods downstream may not be as serious as the people inhaling it directly where it's emitted. So the measurements that we're trying to make is, if you take a purple air monitor and put it in a neighborhood where there is more industrial activity and in a pristine neighborhood in the suburbs, you can clearly see the difference between the total PM emissions in those two places. And so people living close to those are the ones that are getting exposed and getting in danger. And so that's one of the reasons we want to look at the emission levels in,
Absolutely. And we actually at our last meeting was talking about this, and Christy, I think you and I really got engaged in it. In the area I live in, it's mixed, but I would say about 70% falls at or below the median income. And we have highways being built, neighborhoods being built, industrial areas growing, and also the airport. And we're losing our hardwoods, and invasives are coming in, and they're no good. And I was really concerned about the canopy replacement, not for me, but 50 years down the line.
Yeah.
And I think this model is great for us to look into for this area in particular.
You want me to go ahead, Solomon?
Yeah, I think we need to go on.
Yeah. I have a PowerPoint, but I'm kind of gun shy. The last time I used it, I couldn't get off. So I couldn't figure out how to get off so I can just talk it through. I've worked with Solomon before on a previous grant, and I think a lot of these science grants really like the input from the social science part. So thankfully I was able to kind of contribute in that area. But really it's two different steps. One is the focus group, which is generally you try to get people of the same general background. They don't necessarily have to be the same age, but kind of the same lifestyle, same socioeconomic background. And you're trying to get some sort of feedback to create a set of factors that you might look at. We use these social science models, try to develop one. And the next step from that is just to kind of develop a larger scale survey. Now, I'm not gonna complain at all. I was very happy. We had a focus group in Greensboro last week, and the only issue I had was that I got a lot of people who, like you guys, that, you know, you may not be necessarily representative of the community I'm trying to attract, because I'm trying to get feedback, you know, and so we're looking at, you know, maybe some issues like awareness levels. Is it a global versus, you know, a global problem? Is it a local problem? What can be done to solve it? What would you be willing to do to solve it? What are some of the issues that are faced in your community in terms of like, you know, adverse health impacts? Is it getting hotter in the summertime? Is it getting less hot in the wintertime? I mean, there's just a lot. What do you see happening? How do you know it's happening? Solomon and his crew will probably, they'll be verifying, you know, the actual physical science. Some of this is attitudinal, some of it is behavioral. I mean, does the heat index decrease your activity in the summertime? How do you go about mitigating some of the heat? Do you get out later in the daytime? Are there places you can go? I mean, do you use your air conditioner more often? What's the electrical bill? Is that being impacted? So there's a lot of different issues I'd like to look at. But the main thing is that, you know, I had initially envisioned that we would get, and I had a little map, but it was kind of like eastern and southern portion of Greensboro. And then I'm not sure, kind of maybe on the eastern side of Winston-Salem. We're gonna look at maybe potential residential areas where there might be some industrial type, you know, a lot of concrete right next to what used to be maybe old factories or whatever. You know, the airport you mentioned. So, you know, what do you think is happening? Is it impacting your health? So kind of, I wasn't really going to concentrate on the particulate matter and, you know, like the air quality, but that's something certainly that we look at. But my whole point is that we would try to get, because you guys could give me, you know, I could start asking questions and you'd give me pretty good answers. But I'm just, and I'm not saying that you're not representative. I'm just saying the last week there were a lot of, you know, pretty, you know, tied into this particular issue, and I couldn't get them to answer all the time. I mean, it's like because they're so they know so much about it. They're like, well, it's complicated. There's too, you know, if I say, well, are you willing to give up fossil fuels? What do we do about agriculture? You know, are we willing to eat bugs? Do you really want to give up meat? You know, that sort of thing. What can we do? Should we plant more trees? Is it a transportation issue? So, I mean, I just try to kind of open up, and we hopefully record it. So the whole point I was going to try to make, and I'll need help. Shree was just invaluable. I mean, she pretty much created that focus group opportunity for me yesterday. So we would like to get Winston-Salem involved, and I understand even Charlotte wants to get involved. So I ask a question like, are we doing that bad? You know, are we really as bad as you want to make it? But because I pointed out, I grew up in South Louisiana in the midst of petrochemical industry. And so, you know, from my perspective, it's not that bad. But then in some cases, I look that there might be areas like where I live in northern Guilford. I'm thinking those people are going to be more aware and not have as much issue. You know, these big old McMansions and stuff, and but there's a lot of green space, you know, so they understand that sort of thing. Whereas, you know, people in more lower socioeconomic conditions may, you know, there's a lot of issues. And how impactful is the, you know, the environmental thing? Because I've done these kind of surveys where you ask, you know, top 10, and traditionally green issues were pretty low. You know, they might be higher now than normal, but I mean, we're looking at, you know, if you ask on a national scale, what's the top 3 or 4 or 5 issues? You know, the economy, violence, crime, whatever. It might vary. Whereas, you know, when you get into environmental issues, because it's so broad that you don't really maybe think about it. So I'll try to focus on the idea about what can we do to possibly, you know, what is your impression now of the issue? Do you think it's getting hotter? Do you think that the climate is melting down? Do we, or is it something that you think is far off? Is it global? What are some of the local issues you're facing? And then also, I finally, at the end of my focus group last week, I said, we have a tank farm that's near the airport. And I was going to say, there are people living there, but nobody in my focus group lived there. So I said, you know, what are some of the impacts? Do you smell this, you know, chemical pollutant and the this vapor from the jet fumes? You smell that? Is that impacting your health, etc.? So if it's all possible, and this is where I need your help, is to, you guys organize, just get me, you know, maybe 5 to 10 people that might be, in your opinion. I mean, you could all be part of it as well, but here's why you probably don't look at folks who are like in a certain level, and then you put them in with somebody else that might be feeling a little uncomfortable. You know, these people are so much smarter, they're so educated, whatever, and they won't talk. So I'm actually wanting to see what's the impact of the folks who might in fact be impacted by this. And I'm not sure how to do it. I mean, I really don't.
And understanding the level of comprehension on environmental issues by people would also help us to tailor customized educational materials that people need to have in order to understand environmental issues more clearly.
We may have a little
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I
ahead.
was just gonna add to Dr. Stone, pardon me for being not on video right now, but I'm driving, but I'm multitasking, which is not so good. But I just want to add on to Dr. Stone and Dr. Billaline's point of, you know, these focus groups basically helping to then create a larger survey that will be shared more broadly, that, you know, some of the questions can then definitely point to certain areas that we know have some air quality issues. So I feel like it will all come together definitely at the end, but these focus groups are really key in having these discussions to develop that final output of the survey.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's all a focus group does is kind of point you in a direction that you might not have thought of previously, and you're trying to get new insights. I've been doing this kind of consumer environmental type research for 20 some odd years or whatever. So I kind of know some of the issues. You know, there's ecologically responsible, more focused in that area versus, you know, more economic growth types. And, you know, they generally have different opinions on stuff like fossil fuels or whatever. Somewhere there's a happy medium, but if you could, if I can get like the essence of what is the issue for the people living in some of these communities, like what do you think might be solutions? How do you mitigate this problem? What would you like to see? Is it even a problem for you, etc.? I suspect that a lot of people, it is a problem, but it's not the only problem. So I mean, you gotta you kind of try to wheedle it out from the focus group, develop the big survey. And I would like to get kind of a big, like that's going to be an issue as well. And that's where I'm going to need help, is how do we get people to take the survey? It'll be an online survey, but the big issue is like, I have a control group, like I'm saying, people, I might do it by geographic or zip code area or whatever. I kind of think I know where to send the survey, but it's a two-step process. The first thing is just the focus group, try to get the input to develop the survey items. Then you send it out. And of course, you always make a survey based on the lowest common denominator. So you don't make, you don't use a lot of scientific terms. You just kind of keep it pretty basic. A lot of what we call Likert type scales, where you go strongly agree, strongly disagree. They just circle, and it's pretty easy. And it can't be too long. You can't solve everything in one survey. I mean, but that's what I'm looking to do, and I'll probably hope to work with some of you on how to figure this out. I'm sure you guys are gonna have to help me recruit this, and I can probably do it online. I mean, like or I can do it in person. It doesn't matter. But I think it's kind of like it won't get done unless you guys kind of help me get it established on a date.
Let's give them a chance.
Yeah, and I was just gonna piggyback too to say to the board that I had some initial conversations with Dr. Miller and kind of informed her of what we were doing to launch, to kick off the engagement piece here in Greensboro. So we just had our CRC, this CRC engaged focus group meeting with the City of Greensboro's Community Sustainability Council. And so we were hoping that this group, and like Dr. Stone is saying, and if you have any additional people you would like to, like if you have any, city council type of liaisons that are really into eco, I mean, I don't know, however you want to, assemble the group, that's the group that Dr. Stone is wanting to meet with. And the City of Greensboro's portion of this grant, as Dr. Billerline pointed to earlier, is just really helping with that community outreach piece. So Dr. Miller seemed to be on board. And so we would love to work to see if we can schedule that focus group meeting with Winston-Salem's team.
Christy, you have something to say?
Yeah, so I just would love a little clarification on what exactly you're looking for. So I heard you say over and over that we want to really try to target folks who are directly impacted, but our sustainability group is not who is directly impacted. We have maybe one member on our committee. So I don't.
Might be city council meetings, members who represent a particular part of the community.
Well, there are many community groups that are boots on the ground in communities. I mean, there's so many that are, I mean, if we're talking about your
boots on the ground people would be good.
I'm sorry, if you don't mind me just asking, and then we can, like
there
are like many groups that are directly giving healthcare access and helping like the unhoused communities in East Winston. There's lots of groups that are helping with providing healthcare, free healthcare, reduced. I mean, I'm connected to many groups that are helping with healthcare in a variety of ways. And I mean, would it be helpful to have staff on those that they could be helping? I mean, is that what you're looking for initially? Or are you looking for actual community members that you would like to have? Because we would love to help in this community, like as any way we can, but I don't know if like I'm the best person because I live in Northwest Winston. I don't think that like my voice is who you're looking for per se.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. People who work in the community that might be a representative, that'd be fine. Because they'll speak for the community. They know what's going on. So like, if that's an interesting population. You talk about the homeless. I thought about it at one point, just going and talking, because we have an urban ministry homeless shelter that feeds the poor or homeless in Greensboro, and that would be, they know, they deal with that population. So if you had a spokesperson, maybe 5 or 6 from these different groups, that would be probably good. They probably know that would be perfect. And I'd be happy to meet with them.
So I think that what maybe some of us on this committee, Christy just said she probably has a few connections. It'd be helpful if we could have something we could show them or send them or talk to
Yes.
a blurb, even a paragraph that we can use if it's like a one-on-one exchange. Because
We have a
heck,
video. We
okay.
actually have a video. Dr. Stone, if you're okay with us sharing that, we'll share the same video we rolled in the first focus group meeting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because I suspect, I mean, famous last words, but that getting 5 to 10 people that are more representative than this committee, largely speaking, and maybe some people in this committee more than definitely, but I feel
I'll definitely do it for representation for our committee, because I'm here. So.
I'm
think
so grateful
Kira,
to you.
I think
Thank you.
Kira is a great option for the committee as well. But
Yeah.
I'm with Christy that I don't feel that I would be able to speak to air quality in Winston.
And this is a definite issue in Winston-Salem. I know, Dr.
Totally.
Stone, that you might not be as familiar with Winston-Salem as surrounding cities, but this air quality and like the socioeconomic differences in Winston and East Winston in particular, the green space is less, the air quality is less, the location, like you were saying, closer. There's some really negatively impacted areas that have definitely worse health outcomes. And I think the big thing, and Shri, you would know better how to phrase it. I think a lot of people in these communities are facing so many hardships, but if we can phrase it in a way to be really direct, and you guys know how to do this better, but how direct the environment and air quality, how directly it's impacting their health and contributing to that is, and connecting those dots, that it will become a higher priority, because I mean, it really is a problem in Winston-Salem.
Well, you know, get me those folks, and you just tell me when to be there or whatever. Actually, I think it might be a little better to do it in person, but whatever is most convenient for you within the next month or so. I almost think we should have waited till the summer, because people are a little bit more, it's more top of mind than it is when it's cooler. But I mean, people can remember what they were facing last summer. It was pretty hot. And so, I mean, it's an ongoing issue. I mean, again, quality of life issue. Would you like to see more trees? Would you like to see more open space? What can be done here? Is the transportation issue an issue? So there's a lot of things I could talk about, but with members in the community, like what they might see as health related issues, as well as how can it be improved. So again, it's literally designed to do a larger survey that goes out to a larger number of people.
Yeah.
Do
One
we
of
have,
my favorite, sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you had like about how long it would take, like the time commitment, and if we had a roundabout date or time that we could to start kind of recruiting members if we wanted to reach out to people that we know.
So I think an hour and a half, and we'll provide
Hour and a half.
lunch.
Provide lunch.
So
That's
it's-
great.
Yeah, we'll provide lunch.
Would it be in Winston-Salem?
Yeah, I can,
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you tell me where. If you had any way to film it, that'd be very nice. And I usually bring my assistant with me. She wants to get in this business that I'm in, so I'm kind of like taking her on as an assistant. And she takes notes while we're talking, but it's always good to have a film, because that way I can go back and review and stuff. But
Mariah, could we have it at City Hall?
That's a good place, yeah.
Yeah, I
have-
mean, I do believe, because this is a virtual meeting and it's being recorded, that it should be accessible on the city's YouTube page, probably.
But could we host this hour and a half meeting at City Hall, the one that we're planning?
Oh, the future one, excuse me. If it was virtual, and
Or if it was
No,
in
it's-
person.
No
Or
lie.
in
Person.
person, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it probably, I would say that Shailene would probably work with you on that, but that is a possibility. We have meeting rooms that we can reserve on behalf of this committee.
But we don't want to restrict it to that. I mean, especially if, yeah, Kira's gonna say that.
Community
If
centers
most
are
of our
I was
also,
gonna
people
say
are in
that
North
as well, that
Winston, if most of our
communities,
people are in
yeah.
North Winston or East Winston, we should do it in one of the community
Yeah.
centers.
I think
Yeah.
community centers are probably the best place. I have
Yeah,
been
there's a
one of,
number of,
yeah,
I'm so sorry.
What about Atkins?
one of the most what people like it mostly when I traveled a lot to East Africa mostly, and I talked to city mayors and city governments about this issue, and some of the things they like about is when you connect air quality with climate and food security, all those are interconnected, and so and the benefits of cleaning the air in terms of the economic, especially one of the most successful stories that we can talk about is the Clean Air Act in the US. I mean, the economic benefit of the Clean Air Act is considered to be 1 to 30 ratio. For every dollar spent to clean the air, the benefit is 30-fold in terms of lost work hours, hospitalization, and all that. And so those showing those connections, because we see them in isolation, but they're all interconnected, and those are the talks that mostly people enjoy whenever I travel to those places.
My email is just gwstone.
Yeah.
At ncat.edu. gwstone at ncat.edu. And if you want to get the conversation, I don't care when it is. I mean, my best time for me is on a Wednesday, anytime during the day, or night or whatever. I mean, I'm available, just so if you can get it set up. It doesn't matter if it's next week, if it's 2 weeks, a month, but sooner rather than later probably. But I'll let you guys work. And Solomon Sri got a lunch plate for everybody for from Chick-fil-A or one of the places, but we can kind of
we can do
at
catering,
least by lunch.
Yeah,
or
we can
whatever.
do local catering or whatever works for you. So I
Christy,
just put the email address of George on the chat.
Christy or Kira, it sounds like both of you are pretty interested in helping out with this. And it sounds like obviously Shailene couldn't be here today, but it sounds like she'll be a key interactive piece in this regard. So maybe we can sort of not wait till the next meeting, but before then sort of like connect with her and see what she was thinking of this, because she had some ideas related to this because she's talked to Shri, I think, about this as well. So
Absolutely.
I think I have Mariah's email, so I'll definitely send that link over with that video, Mariah, to you,
Okay.
and I can copy Shailene on it. I
Perfect.
chatted with
Thank
her
you.
earlier this morning.
Okay, perfect.
Carter, can we have a meeting like the three of us at least? I can't remember the rules, but like could
No.
Kira and
yeah,
Mariah, if you're there,
yeah.
can we have like a subcommittee meeting to just like touch back to see if we can secure enough members?
You can have a
Yes.
subcommittee meeting, but you cannot have a majority of the group present unless it's an official meeting.
Can
So
just like Carter and I and Kira be there?
I think the three of you would be below quorum, so that might
would
be
be
possible.
below.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the number is 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't have
Carter,
quorum
do you
at a
mind-
meeting because it's considered public then, and then if it wasn't publicly disclosed.
Would you
that's
need to
where
be
it
there,
gets
Mariah, or
tricky.
could we have it without you?
Or
A
how long did it-
subcommittee meeting needs a staff liaison to still be present, so I could be there if Shailene's not back, but I would recommend you waiting for Shailene to return. She'll be back in the office mid next
Yeah.
week, so if that's a possibility, as well. And then I just wanted to pipe in, if you guys are looking to do recreation centers, the city of Winston-Salem has 17 recreation centers. We have been coordinating a lot in our department with
Great.
them, unrelated to y'all, but Shailene and I are working on a food asset mapping effort. And it does involve a lot of residential surveys. So her and I are planning 4 different community town hall meetings at those recreation centers this summer. So she would be very willing to coordinate that. And the recreation centers will provide that space for free for city departments like ours. So that is a possibility. I would recommend considering an evening time though, because I
Yeah,
think
for
if you want
sure.
to get people to that space, it's most
Yeah.
accessible for folks after work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully, Carter, do you mind wrapping the 5 of us in, and we'll try to have a meeting in the next like 10 days?
Like just send it like late next week. You said she'll be back mid next week, Mariah.
I believe she's starting to work back on Wednesday. So anytime after Wednesday should be accessible by email.
And in the meantime, I'll try to start with some of the community groups, and maybe we can try to start recruiting 5 to 10 and touch back.
Yeah,
with
even
each other.
just if you have like personal connections, like fillers, probably
Yeah.
won't hurt.
I would recommend, and I mean, up to you guys, but my recommendation would be maybe having a conversation with Shailene before you touch base with people, just so you have a more consistent message. So you,
Okay.
you know, I mean, just an idea. I can't make that decision for you, but it seems like if you guys want to get on the same page before you reach out to people, that way when you are reaching out to
Yeah.
them, you have
That makes
more of a
sense.
concise, clear plan of what you're asking of them.
Mhm.
Sure.
I would propose that not necessarily like putting out some blanket social media to some group or email to some group you're part of connection, but if anyone has an individual connection to somebody they think that would be good for this, then it wouldn't hurt to like go ahead and just put an informal like check-in out is what I would say, but that's what I would personally do.
Whenever you guys meet and figure out whatever, then you start looping me in. And
Yeah,
yeah, so I'm available, and I'll try to make myself. Just give me a couple of dates. Again, Wednesday's my best time, and I don't care what time you whatever you want to do it. If it's in the afternoon, that's fine with me. I don't care. I'll be there. So, and unfortunately, I've got to take off, but
Yeah, me too, I guess.
I really look forward to working with you and do whatever I can. But again, anything we come up with, I'll give you the report. You know, I'll show you what the findings were. So that might be a benefit for you.
Yeah, I had one. Sorry, maybe this is quick enough. I'm interested. This is sort of short term. Like short term, you need a focus group, is what I'm hearing. And short
Yes.
term, some experiments are going to start happening at A&T.
And
but I'm
yeah,
interested.
And also, if you choose,
It's the-
if you would like to choose a location where you think we should put sensors like the purple Earth type monitors, you
I'm
can
happy to
also,
help you deploy some purple air that you just come
Yeah.
and, you know.
Yes, yes.
Maybe
But what I
that's
was
one
going
of
to
the
ask
things
is,
we'll ask.
I was going to ask about education long term and or action that comes long term, like in long term meaning in 2 years when data exists and the
Yeah.
focus groups and surveys have come back. Like what are the things that like we're going to propose or hopefully do in Winston somewhere to make a difference?
Well, all I can do is analyze the data, but I
Yeah.
mean, I could always, when I'm writing a paper, I've always have recommendations, conclusions and recommendations. So, I mean, that's all. It's just.
Yeah.
So
whatever
that's
the
not
findings-
explicitly part of the grant. There's no part of the grant. The outreach of the grant is to engage the community and citizen science
Yeah.
and get some feedback, but there's no part of the grant that says like we will then implement these into action in some way.
Yeah, so that's the follow-up of the grant. So
It's always the
based
follow-up.
on this is just a seed grant to get started.
Okay.
So DOE
It's
has
like 200,000.
DOE has larger plans. So they are planning to create a climate research lab in one of the HBCUs. So one of the candidates is a North Carolina A&T. So if that is realized, then there will be more resources to do more research, and that spills over to the communities, and the benefits will be obvious. Right now, it's more of a seed money to get
Okay,
an idea of what.
right now. Cool. Well, we're glad to help you guys out. It sounds like you have some
Well,
clear-
I'll just wait until y'all come up with something and CC me, or if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me or email me. So,
Thank you for having us.
yeah, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Sherry, for
one
the
thing-
connection.
One thing before y'all go, I'm an Aggie mom, so.
Okay. All right.
Good for you.
Well, thank you guys again. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, George,
you.
for your time. It sounds like we're all very engaged and we'll have some opportunities to follow up with you in the future.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
no, thank you very much.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Well, thank you guys for that lively discussion. I'll bring us into our next piece. I don't believe we have quorum anymore. I think we lost Leah, so we're down to 4 members, but I don't believe we need to vote on this next item. Really, the next thing I wanted to ask you all is let you know that your next meeting will be on April 4th, 2024. And Shailene wanted to understand from you all, would you prefer to keep it online or would you like to be back in person?
I like online.
Yeah, this is actually nice. It's a lot more flexible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super helpful. I
Okay.
mean, I love in
But it
person every once in a
provides-
while.
as the new chair, not the. I was not prepared for you guys to do that, by the way.
Oh, I was like, don't fight it, Carter. Don't fight it. You got
Let
this.
let me be honest. I'm not even in Winston right now. I'm traveling for work. I'm in Boston, and I was like, I'm so brain dead that anyway.
I know
Uh,
it's if anyone has kids in the school district, it's spring break that week.
Oh, that's
so
right. Yeah.
It would be great to be virtual just in case like you're not home. So that
But what I was gonna say is that I fully agree that the virtual I'm good with, but I was a little disappointed that the virtual didn't turn into actually higher attendance. And so I think we need to reflect on what that means. This isn't the answer to the question of what's next month, but it's the question of like how do we reliably start getting people to
I'm
come
interested
see?
how many more people have applied and if we're waiting on, because I know at least 2 people have talked to Shailene that she said are wonderful candidates, but are not diverse enough for our committee, which I appreciate her listening to us about that, that we
Was it
wanted
that just joined that was there last month?
I know, and I hate that I can't remember her name, but she wasn't able to come this time.
okay.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Lee has kind of disappeared. Shailene sent me an email earlier this week asking if I had heard from him at all. So
Well,
anyway,
Nick was on this call earlier, but had to drop off, it seems.
no, not Leah. Lee.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I know.
I understand everything you're saying. I'll just share. This is a common thing that happens with a lot of these advisory commissions. I work with the Urban Food Policy Council and they have similar struggles and it's relatively consistent, but all I can share is that if you know of folks who may be interested in applying, encourage them to make an application, encourage them additionally to follow up on that application by calling the mayor's office and also asking their city council member to make a recommendation. Honestly, getting a city council member to recommend you is one of the quickest and most surefire ways to actually get into these committees. Yeah. So, I appreciate that you guys really want to see this group well supported, and I'm sure if you have questions about some of the members who have not been able to attend, that's something I would recommend trying to either reach out to them if you know them individually or talking about this with Shailene when she's back in the office.
Ryan, do you remember her name, the one that was just appointed to our committee? Can you remind me?
Let me look at the website. It's probably on there.
It seemed like you knew her that night.
I do, and I feel terrible. I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry.
Here, I'm gonna drop a link to y'all's website on the city's. Oh wait,
There's
no.
Jean Christie, Jordan.
Jordan's been on for a while. She comes semi-regularly, but is a little hit or miss.
Oh, it's Jean also.
Okay.
Okay, I'll reach out to her. I was so surprised she wasn't here. She was so excited to be part of the committee.
Yeah, she did seem to have a lot of excitement. Either way, Mariah, I think it sounds like we're all supportive of online for April.
Yeah, so online, I think online is very accessible. I'm glad you guys are in consensus. So I'll let Shailene know that. I am also supposed to remind you that for your April meeting that the bike pedestrian coordinator from the transportation department will be coming to present to your group. So just look forward to that. That leaves us at the end of the agenda. Any final parting comments? Anything else you guys want to use the time for? You have about a little bit over 15 minutes left, but we can end early.
I did want to bring up primaries. I know there's not, the final numbers hadn't come out yet, official, but it looks like we may have 2 changes in wards. And
Yeah, and one of them is one of our champions. Did you see
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, I know I can pick up the phone at any time and call my council member to address things, but I'm not sure if anyone has any relationships with the 2 that are coming in.
I'm trying to establish a relation with Vivian.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Southside Food Forest, who I work with quite a lot, is in her ward, and I'd really like to have a relationship with her. That'd be nice. But so hopefully I can get that established.
You're talking about with Vivian, is that what you said, Mason?
That's correct.
Yeah, because John Larson was one of the ones that was really a friend to our committee, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Vivian, I think, ran on campaign of affordable housing, and I think also it was about food insecurity. So I think there we could have probably at least some links to the sustainability committee. That
Oh,
is,
yes.
green spaces and food insecurity kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. So
I had coffee with Jessica from PA last week, or T, I should say, but I don't know. She was encouraged, but like obviously John has been a champion, but like this was before the vote, but she doesn't know Vivian well, but she does know Adrian a little bit better. But like either way, she was encouraged by the potential of both of them, I would say.
And
to
I'm not
fill John's-
totally clear, but the current and the like you said, the official votes, but don't you have to have 30% of the primary vote to solidify? And she has 35.3, and John Larson has 29.98.
I know, it's like
so that one is close, because I mean she definitely has more than 30%, but I think we do, that's just looking at the, so it seems like she secured it, but that 30% mark I think is
right.
the primary.
I think it's really, really, really close.
The other ones are not close. I mean,
Right.
Barbara Burke is at 61,
Yeah.
Dee Adams is at 65, Skipia's at 58. They're not close.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, Joins not close, 73. And that determined it. The primary determined the mayor too. So he's, but yeah, that one is the one that's the close call. And then I'm in the Northwest, so that one will be one of the ones that's in the general. And then I think there's 2 that'll be in the general, 2 wards that have contested races in the general, I think.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for this committee and how it's coming around. It's making me feel so good. I know we need to get 3 more members, but Carter, we're grateful for you at the helm, and Mariah, thank you for stepping in tonight. This feels really good. I'm so grateful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for attending the meeting and staying engaged. It seems like you guys have a lot to look forward to. If there are no other comments, can we vote to adjourn?
Motion?
Can we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. The meeting adjourns at 6:11. Thank you all for your time, and have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.